We got another one for the line of scrimmage. Miami Hurricanes offensive line is adding some serious juice in the class of 2024. Deryc Plazz, welcome to the U.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I am Alex Donno, your host, University of Miami alumnus, longtime South Florida sports radio vet, and contributor to allhurricanes.com. Thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first and second listen of the day. Emergency episode here. We love to do these when Miami lands commits. Miami landed a big one, literally and figuratively. Deryc Plazz, 2024 offensive lineman. He has chosen Miami over NC State. 6'6", 289 pounds and growing, out of Jacksonville, Florida. The Deryc Plazz recruiting saga has been interesting because a couple months ago, we knew Miami was interested. The Hurricanes seemed to be trending pretty well with him. He committed to Penn State, but then in June, he decommitted. I think he decided he rushed into that decision a little bit, opened things back up, and Miami and the NC State Wolfpack became the true front runners for Plaz. They got official visits from him in June. And this recruiting cycle, 2024, it's been crazy, right? The same way, most of us didn't think we were going to get Lightfoot until a few hours before Miami landed Lightfoot. We thought Miami was going to get Ja'Cory Barney until a few hours before we didn't get Ja'Cory Barney. So a lot of folks up until recent days really thought Deryc Plazz was going to go to NC State. They were the crystal ball leader for him, but Miami over the past week or so were able to surpass the Wolfpack and win this ACC versus ACC recruiting battle to bring Plazz from North Florida down to South Florida. I like this player a lot. Obviously, Alex Mirabal and Mario Cristobal like him a lot because they made a serious push for him. Deryc Plazz is a people mover. He's quick, strong, and he bulldozes bodies. Very nimble and effective in the screen game. That's something we were talking about on our early episode today before this commitment with Brian Smith. And Plazz, I think I was reading this on the Andrew Ivins scouting report. I think Plazz self-reported this, but I'd like to think that this number is real, or it's even bigger than this number. He recorded 61 pancake blocks last year as a junior. And there are a lot of pancakes on his film, his huddle reel. It's a very entertaining watch if you guys want to check it out. I enjoy, I'm not necessarily a huge line of scrimmage guy. Like when I'm watching games, I tend to watch the ball. But then when I go back and watch a game for a second time, that's when I tend to look more at the line of scrimmage. But I got to tell you, man, when you see a big, quick offensive lineman just putting dudes on their backs and pancaking fools, that's one of the more fun things to watch on Huddle. You can see Deryc Plazz doing a lot of that. I know we already have a guy now on the team nicknamed the Pancake Honcho, but there's certainly room for another pancaker on that offensive line. Miami seems to have gotten one. And his junior season at Andrew Jackson High last year in Jacksonville, his team recorded 1,552 rushing yards, so over 1,500 yards, and he was a big help in literally paving those running lanes for his team's running backs. Now, Deryc Plazz, as far as the role he's going to play at Miami, I could see him in the interior or at tackle. He's capable of playing both. He plays left tackle in high school. I think that's primarily because he's the best offensive lineman on his team. Let's put him at left tackle. I think he's capable of playing tackle or guard at Miami. So I'm curious to see once the staff actually gets him on campus, which we know is still a while away, and you kind of continue to see where he can fit. And Miami likes to cross-train their offensive linemen anyway. So he's going to be playing at multiple spots. We'll see here where he works out best. But Deryc Plazz can be a factor, whether he's playing guard or tackle or center, wherever. This kid can be a factor on Saturdays moving forward. So we'll talk a little bit about what Plazz has had to say about Miami's coaching when we come back. And we'll also talk about where Miami's recruiting class now stands. How high does Plazz move Miami up in the composite rankings? Are we inside the top 20, top 15? Where does Miami stand after adding Deryc Plazz? We'll get to that and more. Keep it locked right here to Locked On Canes. Folks, I've been having so much fun all summer on FanDuel. You can take your first swing at betting MLB on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets up to $200. That's right. Just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 you can spend betting everything from the money line to the over-under to who you think is going to hit the first home run. And that's all on an app that's safe, secure, super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you can get paid instantly. There is no better place to bet on MLB than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. Thank you so much, bros, for making Locked On Canes your first listen today. For the everydayers, if you want to take your everydayer experience to the next level, make sure to sign up for our exclusive SMS texting service through Subtext. I'm including a link in the show description below. We dropped Donno balls on there. Now, I did tell you guys in the subtext that I think Plaz is coming to Miami, and we did give you a heads up, before it actually dropped on the subtext. I was afraid to drop an official Donno ball because I didn't want to jinx it, right? Because I dropped the Donno ball for Ja'Cory Barney last week and I jinxed it. So I was rattled after all the L's that I took in predictions last week, but it turns out we were right about Deryc Plazz today. So welcome to the Deryc Plazz. But guys, if you want to try our exclusive subtext service, you can do one-on-ones with me. You get text to your phone directly from my phone, completely free for the first 14 days. And then if you want to opt in, it's $4.99 a month. We give you a lot of added value. We include the link in the show description below. So here's what Deryc Plazz recently told 24/7 Sports about Miami. He says, and this was before he committed. This was when he was talking about his two finalists, which were Miami and NC State. He said, with Miami, I love the fact that Coach Cristobal and Coach Mirabal have a great relationship with each other. They've been friends for a long time, and they've also been coaching together for a long, long time. So they have that chemistry. What they've proven has worked at multiple other schools. So I don't have a doubt that Miami is going to be winning very soon and producing awesome offensive linemen at a high level. That's something I know I would love to be a part of. And yes, guys, for whatever you want to say, good or bad, about Mario Cristobal's time at Oregon, one thing is for sure, they've produced high-level offensive linemen who get to the NFL and get taken early. So Cristobal and Mirabal working together. You know that I like Cristobal, obviously. Some of you may, you may not like him for whatever reason, but couple things that you can't really criticize about Cristobal. Number one, recruiting. He's always been a top recruiter. And number two, developing offensive linemen, identifying and developing offensive linemen. The tandem of Cristobal and Mirabal have always been great with that. So Deryc Plazz clearly sees that, and he wants to be part of it, and I'm so happy he's coming to Miami. Here are a couple more important notes about Plazz, because I know the 3-star brigade is going to be out in full force today. You know who you are. I call you guys the 3-star brigade, and this is the voice I imagine you guys have in my head when I see you tweet and when I see you write on Threads, which is now a thing. We're going to be getting stuff like, what? Another 3-star? Does 3-star Mario know he's allowed to recruit 5-star players too? Do we only want 3-star players? Now, again, and you guys are going to see the link at the end of this episode. If you missed our morning episode today, our recruiting expert, Brian Smith, was on with us. We talked about Plazz prior to his commitment, and Brian told us this morning, and he recruits all around the Southeast. Well, he scouts all around the Southeast, I should say. And he told us this morning flat out, the Jacksonville area is the most underscouted metropolitan area in Florida. They do not get the scouting eyes that South Florida and Central Florida get. A lot of folks don't get out that way. So he told me flat out, he doesn't put a whole lot of stock into recruiting rankings for that area. Now, obviously, schools who have the resources and the money, they scout those areas. But a lot of the nerds from the On3s and the 24/7s and Rivals and stuff, they don't get out that way to Jacksonville as much. It's an underscouted area compared to, the South Florida, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach area, Southwest Florida, Central Florida. The other thing about Plazz is that I think a lot of people should be excited about. He's a late bloomer. He recently bulked up from around 250 to now almost 290, and he's got room to get a lot bigger, right? Whereas, when you got guys in the last cycle like Francis Mauigoa and the Pancake Honcho Okunlola, you had an idea that maybe those guys can still get a little bit bigger, but they were pretty much finished products in the 325, 335 range, whereas Plaz at around 289 these days, I think can still add quality weight to his frame, which is only going to make him better, as long as he doesn't bulk up too much. But if he adds, maybe gets up to 300, 310, 315, that's only going to make him better. So here's what adding Deryc Plazz, 3-star offensive lineman out of Jacksonville. Here's what it does to Miami's class of 2024. I went into the old 24/7 composite calculator. That's the only math I do. I don't use math, and I never know how much to tip, and I usually over tip because I don't want to under tip. So when I'm like, oh my God, I'm so intimidated by the dinner check, I usually end up over tipping so I don't have to screw up the math. The only math I'm good at are the composite recruiting rankings because they have a little calculator on the site for you. So adding Deryc Plazz takes Miami's class from number 20 in the country up to number 17 in the country. You move up a few spots and you move a spot ahead of North Carolina. Okay, so it's nice to, pass a team in your conference. Deryc Plazz becomes Miami's 16th verbal commit, and he's the second offensive lineman now after Juan Minaya, and the coaching staff likes both of these guys. So hopefully Miami's recruiting class, fingers crossed, continues to move on up, all right? And we're going to be looking at another announcement tomorrow. Now, this one, if Miami does land a verbal commitment from a player who's announcing tomorrow, this may not end up affecting the class of 2024 because he's a 2025 guy, but there have been some rumors maybe about him reclassifying to 2024. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But 4-star tight end from Los Alamitos, California, Devon Mitchell, is going to be announcing tomorrow. Oklahoma is considered the favorite. Miami kind of considered second place right now. But again, trying to figure these. And for what it's worth, after Mitchell visited Miami a few weeks ago, unofficially, he said to the media, Miami's now his number one. So if you take that at face value, maybe Miami's the team to beat, even though the media thinks Oklahoma is the team to beat. So we'll see if Miami can land Devon Mitchell tomorrow. So that would be huge. I mean, talk about that momentum. More momentum today with Deryc Plazz. Maybe you get even more momentum tomorrow when Devon Mitchell. I'm not sure what time he's announcing. I think it might be an evening thing. We will see how that goes tomorrow. But guys, thank you so much for making Locked On your first listen. Make sure if you're watching us on YouTube, hit the thumbs up, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel. If you're listening to the audio version, make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Odyssey app, wherever you get your pods. And if you can take a few seconds out of your day to leave us a 5-star review, we like to read those on the show every week or two and shout people out when they leave us 5-star reviews. So we'll talk to you again next time on another episode of Locked On Canes, part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.